Okay, so 5 things I wish I knew before I started my PhD. I've been on this Quora thread about PhD programs, and I've been reading about all these like experiences of other people. And I thought, well, this would be an interesting opportunity to share my own. So this is 5 things that I wish I knew before I got my PhD. So the first thing, I wish I'd known how many opportunities I was going to have to miss or decline on because I was pursuing this program. And the way the PhD program is designed, I feel like it's designed to make sure, to almost ensure that you cannot take on anything else if you're that committed to the program. So during that time, I was working, very grateful. I had a wonderful job. So I did have a full-time job and I did take on 2 other part-time jobs. I was working 3 jobs. I really wanted to pay and make sure that I did not get into debt after getting into debt with my master's. I know that a lot of people aren't able to do that, so I felt really grateful. But I think the first thing was that there was tremendous loss of opportunities. And an example of an opportunity was that I actually got casted for the partner with Marcus Lemonis. And I passed the first phase of casting and I got so pumped about it, but then realized, whoa, if I go into the second phase and they said they wanted me to come on and I literally had to decline getting on the partner with Marcus Lemonis. Yeah. The second thing I wish I knew before I started my program, I really wish I had better mentors. And if you're considering a PhD program, and if you don't have mentors that you think are going to like go to bat for you and that are going to really give you good advice, I would totally reconsider my entire position or maybe try to find a different PhD program. You really need to have solid people. And I mean, I had okay people, but I think I reached points where there was just so much stress and so much questions and so much confusion that even like the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, were not able to figure out certain aspects of my research that demanded a lot of attention. An example would be I wanted to include humans. I wanted to do a clinical trial on humans because why am I going to go through this entire PhD program if I can't actually work with real people, especially in the IRB? And what they had to do was basically raise a lot of red flags. There was lots of red tape, and they actually reached out to the FDA to clear themselves of any responsibility if anything should happen. Now, this was a medical institution. It didn't need to do that. And long story short, they were just unfamiliar with the process, which was really weird for me because this is a clinical medical, institution. I can't be the first person to go ahead and start my own, human clinical trial. But I think part of it was because I was doing it alone. I did have the DO of bariatric surgery as my PI, my principal investigator. So that definitely helped. But before I had all of that, I was solo. The director of the IRB at the time came back to me and actually asked me to present with him on this whole issue with clinical institutions joining forces with the FDA and what they can expect, and actually that the institution itself, the educational institution, should assume the responsibility. It was unnecessary to reach out to the FDA and things of that nature. So if you are in an institution that isn't as familiar with human studies, no matter how many question marks there might be there, just know that the best thing you can do is make sure that there's a lot of communication going on. There's a lot of research before you attempt it so that your board can trust you, and so that they don't feel like they need to reach out to the FDA. So in my case, that's what happened. But I think if I had good mentors, that would not have happened. But in the name of research, you have to take a lot of risks. And so I did, end up going forward and with my second proposal that did include a human clinical trial that the director finally looked at and said, okay, this makes sense to me. We don't need the FDA. We trust what you're doing. And at the same time, you have a great, system. You have a great support system. I had good people on my team. So they ended up not reaching out to the FDA and approving my research, and I was able to move forward. So that was the second one. The third thing, how do I put this? I had to pay my doctoral program like I didn't get paid. Okay, so usually I didn't even know this, but normally with research in doctoral programs, PhD programs, the researcher gets paid through grants, and things of that nature. Not only was I paying for my units, which were like $700 a piece, I was also paying for the materials for the research. There was a tiny, tiny, tiny little fund that my advisor was able to, allot to me, but it was like ridiculous. It was a couple of $100s. I'm not going to lie. Everything else I was paying for out of my pocket. And I did have a scholarship, which was really great for part of my doctorate, but the rest of it I was paying for. So if I had known that I was going to end up having to pay for my research and for the entire program, I don't know if I would have like pursued the whole thing. So anyways, I just thought I would mention that as well. If you are able to secure grants, great. Look into the grants available in your area. It's not that I wasn't able to secure a grant. I think I was under the impression that I would eventually get noticed and picked up, and then somehow someone would say, hey, here's some money. I did have like a grant that did come out early on in my research, but that was for the previous research that got shut down by the FDA. The fourth thing I wish I knew before I started my doctorate, the whole IRB red tape and hoops, like all of the paperwork, the amount of paper submissions and forms I had to do. I wish I had known that before. Not that it would have deterred me from doing the doctorate, but I feel like if I had that in my mind, it wouldn't have been so disappointing every single time I had an IRB revision or a form that was missing or a signature that I needed from someone. I think it would have just prepared me for the, I guess, the frustration that came with that whole system. I would say I don't even know, countless pieces of paperwork and forms and consent forms, and just sure that they were signed by the person who was going to approve all of that, and then it has to be signed by the participants. I mean, the amount of paper, the trees that were destroyed. I'm sorry to the environmentalists. And the fifth and last thing I wish I had known. So getting a PhD is nice, especially in the academic setting or the professional setting, being called, Dr. So-and-so, and, being able to be recognized for your achievement, because so much work and sweat that nobody ever acknowledges went into that whole research project. And of course, it's not validated until you get, published in peer-reviewed journals, which I'm very grateful that I got to experience that. And, you pass your dissertation, you pass your comps, you do an impeccable presentation. All of that's great and grand. But at the end of the day, there is only one thing that is guaranteed and promised to you when you pursue your PhD. When I'm talking about the things that come after, there's only one main thing that is absolutely guaranteed. Nothing else is guaranteed. And that is that you will get the opportunity to conduct research in your field. That is the one thing that is promised. But if you're going into it to be like, oh, I'm going to get this job and that job, people are going to beg to have me work for them, PhDs don't do that. Now, if you're going to get an MD, or if you're going to, pursue like PT school or things of that nature, or PA, those guarantee, a DDS, if you want to be a dentist, those guarantee that you're going to be able, usually they guarantee, unless you're horrible at it, they usually guarantee that you can get a job, right? But getting a PhD, you're kind of, and as a dietitian with a master's in dietetics and whatever, it's all good and great, but I am kind of overqualified for most jobs that dietitians can do. You see what I'm saying? As a dietitian, I'm in that 2% of dietitians who have PhDs, which is also kind of cool. Aside from that, the PhD promises you nothing. But, and here's a shameless plug, it sure does look good on a cookbook. All right, guys, so that's everything I have for today. I do plan to be posting weekly, so go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.